A very warm welcome to everyone. This is the 17th discussion in our The Smart World Around Us series, brought to you by Smart-EDU Hub. I'm so glad you could join us. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating article called Collective Intelligence for More Inclusive Communities by Andrea Maria Tirziu and Catalina Vrabier. We're going to explore how our cities can, get smarter for everybody. And just so you know, the link to the full article is right there in the description below.
All right, let's kick things off with a number that, well, it really stops you in your tracks. Get this, by 2050, a whopping 68% of the entire world's population is expected to be living in cities. I mean, just think about that for a second. That is a huge shift, and it brings with it some absolutely massive challenges for how our cities are going to work. And that huge shift naturally leads us to the big question we're tackling today. With all this incredible growth, we hear the term smart cities thrown around all the time. But are these cities really getting smarter for everyone? Or are we accidentally leaving some people behind in this race to the future? So to even begin to answer that, we've got to step back and, redefine what we even mean by a smart city. Because as the article points out, a lot of these projects have a pretty critical flaw. So often, they end up putting the technology first and the people second. And this quote from the article it hits the nail on the head. See what they're getting at? When the goal becomes the fancy new tech, the sensors, the data, all of it, we risk completely ignoring what the people living there actually want and need. The authors make a great point. Technology should just be a tool to help us, not the end goal itself. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? How do we fix this? Well, the article lays out a really clear path forward for creating a truly inclusive city. It's all about increasing citizen participation, really tackling that digital divide, and always putting people first. It's a blueprint for a city that's not just smart, but also flexible and, actually based on facts and real data. And this leads us right to the heart of the solution that the article proposes. It's this incredible concept called collective intelligence. This is the key. This is the big idea that can help us shift our focus away from being tech first and move to being people first. So what exactly is collective intelligence? You might hear it called CI. Well, to put it simply, it's the amazing ability of a group of people to make really good decisions by combining what humans are great at, creativity, local knowledge, intuition, with what machines are great at, like crunching huge amounts of data. It's literally the best of both worlds. Nature actually gives us the perfect example of this. Just picture a flock of birds flying. Each individual bird only has a tiny piece of the puzzle, a small bit of information. But when they act together, as a group, they can make these incredibly complex and smart decisions, like finding the best food source or navigating thousands of miles on migration. That's it. That's collective intelligence, pure and simple, right there in nature. Okay, so let's put these two approaches side by side. On one hand, you have the old, tech-driven model. It's very top-down. The city officials decide everything, and citizens are just passive users. But on the other hand, you have this people-driven model using collective intelligence. It's completely citizen-centric. It turns residents into active partners who are actually helping to create the solutions for their own neighborhoods. See the difference? Technology goes back to being a tool, not the main event. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Well, the answer is a big yes. The article is packed with fantastic real-world examples from all over the globe that show exactly how this is being done. First up, let's talk about Zooniverse. This thing is amazing. It's the world's biggest platform for what they call people-powered research. Basically, it connects professional scientists and researchers with millions of everyday volunteers who help out with huge tasks. I'm talking about things like classifying distant galaxies or transcribing ancient historical records, stuff that would take a small team forever to do. And the scale of this it's just mind-boggling. Take a look at this chart. It shows the number of tasks, they call them classifications, that volunteers did on just a few random days. Look at that one day, January 30th, nearly 9,000 tasks completed by volunteers. There is just no way a handful of researchers could get through that much data without the power of the crowd. Okay, next, let's hop over to Lisbon, Portugal, to look at a platform called Patient Innovation. Now, this is a truly brilliant use of collective intelligence, but in healthcare. It's an online community where patients and their caregivers can connect, they can share what they're going through, and this is the amazing part, they can actually create and share their own solutions to tough health problems. And this isn't just some small fringe idea. This project has gotten some serious recognition. I mean, listen to this endorsement from a Nobel Prize winner, Sir Richard Roberts. He called it an outstanding social media use that should help many disadvantaged people. That's powerful. It's all about empowering the people who have the lived experience to be the ones who innovate. So we've seen it in science and healthcare. How about in government? Well, collective intelligence can be an incredibly powerful tool for holding politicians accountable. Up in Canada, there's a platform called the Trudeau-meter. It's pretty straightforward. It lets any citizen track the promises made by the government and check them against real, publicly available evidence. And the result? It's what you might call radical transparency. The platform gives you this super clear, unbiased snapshot of what promises have been achieved, which ones are still in progress, and, importantly, which ones have been broken or not accomplished. It's all about empowering citizens with cold, hard facts, not just political spin. For our last big example, let's head to Santander, Spain. The SmartSantander project was huge. They installed something like 20,000 sensors all over the city to collect data. But here's where it gets really clever. They also created an app that basically turns every citizen's smartphone into another mobile sensor for the network. And what's really fascinating here is why they did this. Their goals weren't just about collecting a ton of data. No, they were also trying to evaluate the Internet of Things technology itself, and, this is the crucial part, to assess its social acceptance. They used the entire community to figure out how this new technology actually fits into the day-to-day life of the city. It's brilliant.
Okay, so when you step back and look at all these different examples, from science and health to keeping governments honest, a really clear picture starts to form, doesn't it? We're seeing the beginning of a whole new model for our cities, one that's built from the ground up on collaboration.
And there's this quote in the article by Bart Gorinsky that I just think is the perfect way to wrap your head around this. He says, "We need to become participative bees in the hive that is the modern city." What a great metaphor, the hive. To build these incredible, truly smart cities, every single one of us has a part to play. We all have knowledge to share, just like bees in a hive.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway from our whole discussion today. The future isn't some binary choice between a super high-tech, robotic future on one side and a purely human-focused community on the other. No way. The truly smart cities, the successful ones, are going to be those that find that perfect balance, that equilibrium between amazing digital tools and deep, meaningful human collaboration. Which leaves us all with one last big question to think about. A question for you, for me, for everyone. How can you start to become one of those participative bees in your own city's hive? What's the unique knowledge that you have that you could contribute?
On that thought, I just want to say a huge thank you for tuning in. If you found this discussion interesting or useful, please do us a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe to the Smart-EDU Hub channel so you'll be the first to know about our next podcast. And hey, if you want to go deeper on this topic, don't forget that the link to the full article we discussed today is waiting for you in the description below. Thanks again for listening.